right, guys. G'day. Welcome to the Steel Syndicate Podcast. My name's Mark. I'm your host, and my co-host, Britsburgh, Owen. Owen, yet again, I am flustered, and I don't even know what the show's about.
Mate, it's just one of those. Just got to go with it. Show the true syndicate professionals we are. Because you were talking bad about the Bengals again, mate. That's what it was.
Yeah, well, I was talking bad about some audio that I was listening to on a certain YouTube show, and I was discussing their audio, quality. And the minute I did that, my microphone stuffed up, so I'm using now the headset with these microphones, and hopefully I sound okay. But I guess the key is do not hex anyone because I'll come back to you within a heartbeat. And then
it's karma, isn't it?
Yeah, my Yeti turned off like that, and it just all messed up. And here we are using the secondary headphone, which I can walk around to. I can probably go downstairs and make a sandwich and talk to you if you wanted to.
Oh,
but you know,
you give us like a side tour of your house.
I definitely could. That might be in the 10K special when we hit like 10K subs. I might do that.
Yeah, okay.
But that's about maybe 2 months away, so we're fine. Do you want to talk some Steelers?
Sounds good, mate. Sounds good. I think for Mark, quality already. We've got some quality guests in the live chat already, man.
You got Jed, we've got State of the Steelers, MA Daniel. We have Reginald Rivers. What's up from Bartlett, Tennessee? We have Andrew Noseguard. I think Andrew, I'm pretty sure from memory, is up top in Queensland. I could be wrong. I think he's one of the Australian blokes that follows Steel Nation Australia on Facebook. But I could be wrong. And Jed was so I apologize. My Yeti just went completely bonkers, and I have to stick with this. So
it is like Jed was, isn't it, mate? Like we're doing super online.
I can't wait to hear it back when I go back and go, you idiot, Mark, you stuffed up, you hex someone, and now we're here. So actually, I'm a bit of a gamer, so we'll push through it. But today we're talking about Omar Kahn. And do you know why we're talking about Omar Kahn, Owen?
Because he is the best signing of the off-season, Mark. He's just awesome.
100%. 100%.
Daredevil is giving you some serious stick tonight, man.
All right, easy, all right? Easy. Daredevil, calm down, okay? It's not my fault that I hexed a Bengals player, and here we are. All right? Andrew's from Melbourne. That's right. I do apologize. There's quite a few people on the Steel Nation Australia Facebook page, and I do forget where they're from and stuff like that. But that's awesome. But yeah, we're here to talk about. Hey,
nice to have another Aussie.
Yeah, there's a few of us, not too many, but there's a few. But it's nice to have everyone come into the chat too. But we have, let's talk about Omar Kahn. And we talked a few days ago, and I know you did a video on Britsburgh, Owen, but pretty much. He's the best signing, right, for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
100%, Mark. 100% he is. He's just, for me, he's just come in and he's been reactive and proactive to everything that the Steelers have needed. I think, obviously Colbert has left a legacy with the drafting of Kenny Pickett, with the drafting of George Pickens, with the drafting of Calvin Austin, DeMarvin Leal. But if you go back into the free agency period when Colbert was our GM, you can see the fingerprints of Omar Kahn all over those contracts because, previously to this, the Steelers have never done incentive-laden contracts, but all these contracts are incentive-laden. If you look back, the Mitchell Trubisky contract is, how often do you get a quarterback for just over $7 million a season? And Trubisky can earn up to $27 million, but it's all incentive-laden. It all depends on him getting into Pro Bowls, getting the Steelers to the playoffs, having a certain number of passing yards. The Chooks deal that everyone got so het up about initially, if you actually look into that contract, is very, very clever. Yeah, he gets a bit of money this year, but the Steelers can get out of it so easily in the second year, and it costs them virtually nothing. He's like a calculator on legs, isn't he, really?
Oh, he's awesome. So hopefully, guys, I just changed my microphone, but this won't be a microphone show, but do I sound a bit better than my headset?
No, not really.
All right, I'm doing this for data, okay? So let me talk with this next point. I'm going to ask you about. We're going to go through a few free agents, and I want to talk about Gunnar Olszewski first.
Yeah.
No particular order, but I guess he was a signing for. I'm pretty sure he was a signing for Omar Kahn, right? I'm getting the timing confused.
I think Colbert signed him, but Kahn did the deal. Did obviously the financials. That's right. The way it's been. So I think it's only $2 million a year for Olszewski. I think it's fairly cheap to get out of as well if he doesn't make the roster. But I think it's a fair shoe-in that he's going to make the roster. But it's only going to cost us around about $2 million a year, which in NF, which for you and me, Mark, $2 million a year is a lot of money. But in the NFL, $2 million a year is next to nothing, is it? It's like minimum wage.
Yeah, is there a chance that Olszewski he's going to be number 6? I really don't know with Olszewski. I'm not too sure. I kind of like Miles Boykin and I kind of like Anthony Miller too. So I think they might be the last 2 spots on the roster. Is he going to make the team?
I mean, I could see him not making the team easily. I mean, you've got Calvin Austin there who can return the kicks and return the punts. You've got, the 3 running backs they've been working out just recently, Goldman, Jaquan Hardy, and Jalen Richard. I can't remember which one it was, but one of them has got return potential. Anthony McFarlane, I think, was listed on one of the return teams as well. So there's definitely return potential there in other players. So, yeah, I think unless Olszewski really steps up in terms of his wide receiver role, can the Steelers really afford to carry someone just as a kick and punt returner? That's the question that's got to be answered.
I don't think so. So I've seen a lot with. I'm pretty sure was it Anthony Miller who caught those 6 footballs, or was it the other guy, Steven Sims?
Miller. It was Anthony Miller.
He caught 7, right? I think he set a record. So why can't he maybe be a punt returner?
Yeah, I mean he could be, but
if he can catch 7 balls, he can catch 1 in fair catch, or maybe run.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know what? I think on kickoffs, it really doesn't matter, does it? I think...
No, not anymore. No.
I honestly reckon, Mark, me or you could be a kickoff returner in the NFL because you just got to watch the ball sail over your head 9 times out of 10, haven't you?
Yep. The days are done of Devin Hester. He was so fantastic, to watch. The kickoff returns they don't happen anymore. They move the football field forward. Punt return is still kinda. So why can't Anthony Miller maybe make the team and also be a punt returner or Calvin Austin? So I don't think Gunnar Olszewski has a clear job.
No, I don't think he does. I think, Calvin Austin definitely has that potential to be that punt returner. I think that's where you've got to look at on your special teams for someone to return the ball well is on the punt side of the thing. Because like we said on the kick return, 9 times out of 10, the ball just sails over your head. How many times did we see last season Ray McLeod do nothing on a kickoff because he didn't have to because the ball just sailed over his head every time? So I think, yeah, definitely punt return. And some of the reports coming out of camp is that when Austin has been on the punt return team, it's like someone's got the turbo button pushed down on the joystick the whole time.
Yes, and also I think Ray did an okay job last year at the punt return. He almost took one to the house. He was getting quite a big average, I think about like 10 to 15 yards. But if you can have Austin there or someone like maybe Anthony Miller, then there might be a chance that Olszewski is Gonski's. But we talked too much about Olszewski. Let's move into another guy that I think was definitely, and if I'm getting this wrong, because to me, it was a transition of like Colbert, and then straight away, boom, it was Omar Kahn. But was Mason Cole, was he still Colbert?
He was still in the Colbert era, but again, like I said, the deal with the final. I think what we've got to remember is all those free agent signings before the draft were Colbert era, but the contracts are very much Kahn.
Right. Okay.
Because Kahn did the deals at the end of the day. He did all the finance behind it. And I think that's pretty much how the Steelers front office worked, even with Colbert, that everything financial wise went through Kahn.
I love this comment from Michael O'Malley. He says, "Okay, we need help. We are Steelers junkies." Yes, we are. Yeah. We all are. Like if you're doing our role, which is podcast and talking it, like we can't get enough of it. If you're a Steeler fanatic and you run all around YouTube land and go and find all the shows, if it's us or anyone else you guys follow, why not? Just keep going. So yeah, what about Mason Cole? He's impact in training camp. Is he going to be the clear starter and center?
Yeah, I think he is because he's solid. That's it. He's solid. He does a solid job. He's not spectacular, but he's not awful. He's just the solid centre you need, and whether he's the centre or a transitional centre into someone next year. There was a guy who was coming up on free agency, which I was listening to. I think it was Ramon Foster talk about, and I can't remember the guy's name now, who'll be available next year. But even if Cole's just a transitional centre, he is a solid centre, and it takes the pressure off at that centre position where we really did struggle last season, where Green was getting bull rushed. He was getting, some of his snaps were pretty dreadful. And as he came out and said this week, he didn't even like playing centre. So yeah, I think Mason Cole is a good deal and a good signing. And again, the contract that Kahn's put together is a contract that is very favourable to the franchise.
Well, here's another one too, and we're talking about, I guess, because also to me, this is kind of like the new era, right? The new era of the Steelers, and we have Omar Kahn's in charge. We had great stuff with Colbert. But what about James Daniels too, in that contract and also that signing as well?
That's a great signing. That is a phenomenal signing. I mean, the Bears fans were absolutely, I was going to swear there, were really irritated, shall we say, on that deal. They all wanted Daniels to stay. Daniels has got Pro Bowl potential. He's that good. The guy is rock solid. He's a leader. He can play guard. He can play center. He can play tackle. He can play anywhere along the offensive line. And he is rock solid. If you look at some of his tape from last year, he is just absolutely rock solid. On a really bad Bears line, he stood out. And Daniels is going to be phenomenal this year, I think.
All right, so we've got a quick question here from Michael O'Malley. He says, who is this undrafted free agent rookie running back that's supposed to be a stud? Is O'Malley referring to Warren?
Yes, Jalen Warren, the wrecking ball on wheels.
So what's the situation there with Jalen Warren? If you've been keeping up with Warren, can he be a standout and running back number 2 behind Najee Harris?
100%, yeah. He's a wrecking ball. He's an absolute wrecking ball. I mean, he's one pace. I mean, that's the downside. He hasn't got explosive pace, but he is pretty much a wrecking ball on wheels. He will break tackles. He's physical. He can catch the ball out the backfield. He can pass block as well, which is something the Steelers like their running backs to be able to do. So, yeah, he's definitely someone who could be an option there at running back too. Although I've heard a lot of positive reports coming out of camp about Benny Snell, which, is encouraging.
It has to be encouraging, really, when you think about it, right? Like, I think whoever's behind Najee Harris needs to get maybe 10 touches to 12 touches a game and 40 to 50 yards, right? Something like that, Go out there, get the yards that need to be done. Go out there and block for whoever, is quarterback, Trubisky, Rudolph, or Pickett, or the Duke, and whoever. But speaking of Trubisky, another guy we signed in the offseason, another Omar Kahn deal. What are your thoughts on bringing in a veteran quarterback of his talent, and how does he help the Steelers?
I mean, yeah, decent. I mean, said what, $7 million? That's all for a quarterback who was a first-round pick, back in the day, back in the same draft as Mahomes, and Watson was taken ahead of Mahomes and Watson. He's slowly improving in practice. I was talking earlier, I can't remember, on another platform about, Steelers fans losing perspective about the quarterbacks. And I think there's a lot of overreaction already around the quarterback battle that we've heard, that Pickett's a bust, Trubisky's rubbish, Mason Rudolph's the QB1, blah, blah, blah. This is based on what? This is based on football in shorts where there's very little contact and 3 padded practices. I heard Arthur Motes talking earlier on Steelers Blitz and saying, look, we can't draw any judgments on anyone yet on the basis of 3 padded practices. It's just not possible. And it's only once you start seeing competitive action in preseason games and you see these guys playing in preseason games that you can start to draw judgments as to who is going to be the quarterback 1 or who is going to be the inside linebacker or who is going to be the left guard. You cannot draw judgments just on practice. It's just not possible.
All right, so we have like a microphone update. So I'm getting help from my mate, Stay of the Steelers. He says, hey, Mark, I think if you go into your setting and to the microphone volume and turn it down, it will clear up the audio. So it was on 100, and now it's on 50. So let me know if that sounds well. But, this a big shout out to Daniel, because Daniel was going to Friday Night Lights, and Michael Momalis is here. Daniel was, it got cancelled.
And today's training and Saturday's got cancelled as well.
Right.
Saturday's was done. Apparently, was done back at UPMC, the UPMC facility indoors because the weather was so bad.
So that means the players had to, I guess, drive all the way back from Latrobe to all the way,
Pittsburgh,
and then go back again, right? Because they have to get back to training camp.
Yeah.
Who else can we talk about? I've got a few more names left, but who else do you want to bring up that Omar Kahn is really, I guess, affected with the team? Like this is a great signing to have Omar Kahn to what he's been doing the last
Ogunjobi.
Yeah, okay.
Ogunjobi. I think if you talk about the situation where last year the run defense absolutely sucked, didn't it? It was absolutely dreadful.
Pretty bad.
Unacceptable for a Pittsburgh Steelers defense to give it 145 yards per game as it was giving up. And Ogunjobi, Kahn did something that perhaps Colbert didn't do last year with the offensive line. The offensive line was clearly going to struggle going into last season, and we did nothing to really strengthen it. And even Colbert came out and said, didn't he, at a later date, he wished he'd signed the veteran offensive lineman. But Kahn seemingly learnt from that mistake, and the moment that Tuitt retired, he was actively going out there, actively finding someone, and that someone was Larry Ogunjobi. And Ogunjobi's coming off a career year with the Bengals. I think he had 7 hits, 7 sacks, 16 QB hits. He had a career year last year. Up until his injury, he was performing really, really well. And I think, you've listened to Carl Dunbar was talking about him in an interview recently, and Carl Dunbar said that sucker can really rush the passer. And he also was quoted as saying that that guy is really going to improve our run D. And that's encouraging to hear Carl Dunbar, who is someone I really respect, talking like that about Ogunjobi. And again, that's a 1-year contract, which is a prove-it deal. It's only $8 million, which again, for you and me, Mark, is a lot of money, but in the NFL, it's not much money. But, it's a big thing. And I think the fact that he was so proactive in going out and getting that Tuitt replacement now gives that defensive line in terms of Haywood, Alu, who'll probably split snaps with Adams, given obviously Alu's the fact that he's 35 and coming back from injury, and then you've got Ogunjobi outside. That front three now is now looking really quite scary in terms of 1, stuffing the run, and 2, rushing the passer.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting to see the pieces that he went and got. But I'm going to transition just a little bit because I want to talk now just a little bit about, and there's still more pieces we need to get to as well, but. How good was it what Omar Kahn has done with, the signing of Terrell Edmonds, the 1-year deal, the Minka signing, the TJ Watt signing, Chris Boswell signing, Deontay Johnson 2-year. Does it not feel like everything is happening near perfectly?
Oh, 100% it is. Yeah, and I mean, obviously the DeMonte Kazee signing as well. The moment that we signed a safety in the draft, it was announced that straight away that we were getting Kazee, that he is so proactive in terms of seeking out targets, of doing deals, of settling things to avoid, lengthy holding.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look, Kevin Colbert did an amazing job as the GM. He was... in terms of GMs in the NFL, he's probably one of the greatest GMs ever. The guy won 2 Super Bowls, 3 AFC championships, and I think it was 10 division titles in his time in Pittsburgh. And he drafted some amazing players, Antonio Brown, Troy Polamalu, Alan Faneca, people like that. But last year, he let the TJ Watt situation drag on with the hope of TJ getting cheaper because the closer it got to the start of the season. Whereas Omar Kahn saw, I think, how important it was to have Minka in practice day in, day out, how important it is to have Deontay in practice day in, day out, specifically because the fact we've got brand new quarterbacks this year. Whether it would have been the same if Ben had still been the quarterback, obviously, is a talking point. But the fact we've got new quarterbacks this year, and even with having Mason Rudolph, whether he starts, Deontay needs time to build up that understanding with those guys. And if he's holding in and not playing, he can't build that understanding up. And Kahn's seen that. And has obviously seen that Johnson is a part of Steelers' future and has acted to overcome that problem. And that just shows what a proactive guy he is and what a responsive guy he is in terms of meeting the needs of the team going into this season.
But that's so true because you are right. He's so proactive and not reactive, right, to the situation. And even I think one of the best deals he did was signing Terrell Edmonds for the 1 year. He locks it up. He locks it up for 1 year. And yes, maybe the Terrell Edmonds may not be the future at that safety position, right? But then you even come into the same kind of idea too. you went and got or in our opinion, the best kicker, but we don't care if people say the second or third best kicker, Chris Boswell, for 3 more years. Like, that's a Pittsburgh Steelers deal, and TJ Watt's there. It seems like everything's happening for a reason for this team, and yet we're still getting counted out by the media. Some Steelers fans don't believe in us. I know the guys in chat, we all want our team to go win, and I think we have a good shot, but it seems like Omar Kahn is doing everything he needs to do at the right time he needs to do it. Right? If that makes sense. Yeah. I know that's a boring take, but it's really the reality of the situation. Is there a scenario that after the next few preseason games and after the teams cut players, that Omar Kahn might shoot another shot and go fire and get someone else?
Yes, I think there is obviously a clear intention from the Steelers that they need to get another running back, that they're not 100% happy with what they've got, because why else? They went and got Jeremy McNichols, but unfortunately the guy's out for the season now. He's placed on IR, which means now he's out for the whole season. So he obviously is a non-issue. Master Teague, I think, is just a body. He's not someone I think who's going to make the roster or even the practice squad. But hearing today that they've worked out Jaquan Hardy, the former Dallas Cowboy, Jalen Richard, the former Las Vegas Raider, and Wayne Gorman, the former Giant, Falcon, and Viking. They're clearly looking for somebody in that running back room, and whether that is Gorman, Hardy, Richard, or I don't think Jordan Howard is a possibility now. I think he's definitely been ruled out because perhaps he wasn't happy with taking that backup role. They're definitely looking for a running back. That everything they're saying, everything they're doing is doing that. And I think as well, I think come cut down time as well, you may even see them move for a tackle, because I don't think the tackle depth behind Chooks and Dan Moore is good. And especially as the reports coming out of camp is that Chooks is not really impressing.
True. It's interesting you say about Wayne Gorman, because I thought he was a pretty good player for the Giants. I think he got injured a little bit. I think he bounced around to a few other teams, but getting a guy like that coming in as a second running back, it depends, because I'm excited to see the first preseason game, right, versus Seahawks. If we go and see the first preseason game, we will see some reps at running back. I don't think Najee Harris plays or even plays much, and a lot of these decisions where maybe Omar Kahn be sitting there at the same time going, "All right, fellas, go and play, and we want to see how well you're playing. And then if you're not, if you don't excel, we might cut you, and then go and find another person in the free agent." But I think like what is happening this offseason is one of the best seasons I've seen in a long time. We all love Ben, but we're moving on from Ben. We have Kenny Pickett in the works. He's not ready yet, but we brought in Trubisky. I know you're not a big fan of Mason Rudolph, but however, he could be a good backup if Trubisky starts, right? Mm-hmm. Things seem to be working in the right order, and there's no real freak out, big signing, is there? Where we went out and got and paid millions and millions of dollars for, I don't know, who's a receiver like Odell Beckham Jr. is still getting tossed around like, he wants millions of dollars. We don't go out there and do those kind of signings.
Or like that cornerback, J.C. Jackson, who went to the Chargers, who many people wanted the Steelers to sign. Obviously, he was.
Right, and he got paid millions of dollars, right? He got paid top-notch, didn't he? So we don't seem to be making those moves, but another move we did make was Levi Wallace, right? Mm-hmm. And that was a Kahn move. And yes, we haven't seen too much with him in training camp, but what are your thoughts on Wallace and this team? And is secondary a weak position on the team?
I think the cornerback room is perhaps a position that is underrated slightly. Yeah. I think the reason why there's a lot of uncertainty around it is there is no easily identifiable cornerback one there. Obviously the Steelers secondary has changed massively in the last 2 years. If you go back to the 2020 season, we had Mike Hilton, we had Steven Nelson, and we had Joe Hayden, 3 really good cornerbacks. But now into 2022, Hayden's gone. It isn't going to come back now. I think that any chances of Joe Hayden coming back are long gone. Steven Nelson's obviously gone. Mike Hilton is now a bungle. So at the end of the day, we've lost all that experience. And there is, again, a transition period there in that cornerback room now. And I think there's a lot of hope that Wallace will step up and be everything that Hayden was, and perhaps a little bit better, given the fact that he's not as old as Hayden. But I think where they may slightly struggle is obviously the fact that Hayden brought so much veteran nous and veteran understanding and veteran communication that perhaps isn't there with Witherspoon and Sutton, obviously, who is now injured. How bad that is, I still don't know. And obviously with Wallace. But, apparently Chris Steele, who's the UDFA out of USC, he's had a really good camp and is showing up really well. So there's promise there. But, we never know. It come again, like you said, Mark, come cut down time, someone could cut a cornerback who Steelers think, yeah, we'll have him, and he could come in and do a decent job.
Well, speaking of cats, I did a crazy video the other day on Steel Nation Australia, and I heard some other YouTubers out there, they want to cut Trey Norwood. What are your thoughts about the Steelers cutting Trey Norwood? You don't have to say who they are, Owen, but just what are your thoughts if they were to cut Trey Norwood?
Well, they're chatting a load of rubbish, Mark. They're chatting.
Are they joking? Are they seriously? Like, honestly,
no, I don't think they are joking. I think it's just that channel that we're not going to mention on here just don't know absolutely jack about the Pittsburgh Steelers because they're Cowboys.
They don't know Miles Jack.
They don't know Miles Jack. Yeah,
they don't know Miles Jack from the Devon Bush. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly, because they are Cowboys and Broncos fans, and because they are Cowboys and Broncos fans, they know nothing about the Steelers. The same way that I know very very little about the Cowboys. And I know a little bit more about the Broncos thanks to Gage on the Denver Broncos syndicate. But, I wouldn't ordain to comment on them or talk about who they cut because I don't understand their roster. And to talk about cutting Trey Norwood, who had a good season for a 7th round pick last year, and who I think, again, will develop and come on even further. And I think many people see has been perhaps that safety to play alongside Minka in the future if we don't decide to keep Kazee and Edmonds. To say they're going to cut him is it's absolute ludicrousness. It's ridiculous. It
is crazy. So to me, what that organization who say they want to cut, Trey Norwood, what they're doing is they're going down the depth chart, and you and I can go down the depth chart and talk about this guy, that guy, and they're just ranking them I guess what some sites would say. But even the depth chart the Steelers release I haven't got Miles Jack in my mind, had Trey Norwood at number 2. I thought it was the worst take on YouTube I have seen in 6 months was saying to cut Trey Norwood. The guy is going to be work his way into being a good player and hopefully a star. Mm-hmm. What I saw last year with Trey Norwood, hey?
The other one, Mark, was Isaiah Loudermilk.
That's not as bad, but it's still bad. It's just ridiculous. Anyways, if we go back to the positive of Trey Norwood, I think he's going to be playing really good this year in the secondary. He had a good year, rookie year, 7th rounder. He played his heart out in that Bills game where he made 3 vital tackles that saved them from a first down. He tackled DK Metcalf versus the Seattle Seahawks when no one else wanted to. He absolutely went at him, hammer and tongs. And he's progressing himself into the roster and finding himself a role in that slot corner role, or maybe a nickel or dime or stuff like that, or coverage packages. They're not going to cut him. Now, I could be completely wrong, but I just don't see it. I just don't see how that's even a topic of discussion, right?
It's not. It's not even a topic of discussion. It is not going to happen. It is just not going to happen. It's ridiculous. Norwood, like I said, for a 7th round pick, had a pretty phenomenal season. And he was the guy as well who intercepted the ball against the Browns to give Ben the victory formation, didn't he? In the last game, ever game at Heinz Field. It just beggars belief. It just shows no knowledge of the Pittsburgh Steelers and no knowledge of what Trey Norwood did last season.
I said on my Steel Nation Australia video that it was a disservice and a disgrace it was pretty much insulting Pittsburgh Steelers football intelligence to even bring up the fact, yes, you can have your opinion, I get that, but if you follow the team, and even as a fan like you and I are, we can see the progression that Trey Norwood is going in, having a good camp so far. He has Terrell Austin as the defensive coordinator now, secondary coach. He has Terrell Edmonds and Minka in front of him where he can play behind them, learn from them. 7th rounder. He's a young player, feisty player. The dude likes to tackle. He loves to tackle, right? So I just thought that was crazy. I wanted to put a bit of a cheap shot in there because we do enjoy you guys in live chat on the Pittsburgh Steelers Syndicate. Of course, I have my own channel, Steelers Nation Australia, and Britsburgh Owen has Britsburgh Owen. But we try and give you that perspective where, I'm talking from Australia and Owen's talking from England. And if we can see it all the way out here or wherever we are, come on, man. It just doesn't make any sense that these cuts, like even Louder Milk, it does makes zero sense, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And as Brian Brown says in the live chat, why would we care what Cowboys and Broncos fans think about the Steelers? Unfortunately, Brian, there's 13,000 people who subscribe to that channel who care what Cowboys and Broncos fans think about the Steelers. So it's obviously 13,000 people who've a bit deluded, I think, there. But there we go. I love what Michael O'Malley says as well in the live chat. That's fantastic. I love that. The Cowgirls are going to win the Super Bowl every year on paper. The problem is they suck.
I normally wouldn't worry too much, right? But when I saw the headline, I was like, Trey Norwood? You're not cutting Trey Norwood. It is not happening. He's an up-and-coming young corner / safety hybrid kind of style where he can get in the mix and maybe be the Mike Hilton. Maybe he won't run down there and tackle, but he's going to be all over the field. I love the way he tracks the football. He tracks the quarterback. His football intelligence is growing highly. Okay, I think we've ranted long enough about that. I think we all know who we're chatting rubbish about, but let's move on to some more Omar Kahn stuff. Is there any more Omar Kahn stuff that you want to bring up where, the players he brought in or just the atmosphere he brought to the Steelers?
I think, listening to his press conference the other day, it was interesting. He is very much business, isn't he? He is very much like a mini Mike Tomlin. He doesn't give anything away. He keeps everything close to his chest, but he does everything in the right way. He doesn't give. He puts the Steelers in a position of power and strength. He doesn't, leave them open to anything. And I think that's just. He's basically gone out, I think, and he's basically gone out there to prove everyone wrong. Because I think everyone said, well, not everyone, but a lot of people, said when he was appointed as the GM, oh, they've appointed the wrong person. It should have been Brandon Hunt. But I think Kahn is setting out to prove that he is the right person. He's got the player personnel decisions right. And along with that, he's got the financial decisions right. Obviously, we don't know what role Andy Vidal, whatever the guy is, who's the assistant GM, I can't say his last name, what roles he's played in this. But at the end of the day, just what he's done in terms of contract renewals and the players he's brought in and the way he's acted and been proactive when he's needed to be has just been phenomenal for me.
That's awesome. I think it's been a good, transition from obviously he's been there it's not like a new guy, right? Yeah. Wasn't Omar Kahn there for 20 years or something, or like 15 years?
Yeah, and before that was the Saints. So yeah, he's had a very wider experience. Didn't he come at a similar sort of time to Colbert, or just after Colbert?
Yeah, I think you're very similar, right? I think he's been there a long time with the Pittsburgh Steelers organization. So it's like overall, it's not just getting a brand new guy. They're coming into the Steelers system. Like he just gets it. He gets it. I actually like that. Okay, I'll ask you this question. What do you like more? Do you like more what he did with signing free agents, or do you like more what he did with doing the deals with the players we already had?
I think doing the deals he's done for the key players that we've already got.
Yeah, same.
Part of being a successful team is you retain the pieces that make you successful. Minkah Fitzpatrick, best safety in the NFL. Deontay Johnson, potential there, massive potential if he follows up last season. He's just got to improve his yards per catch, and the fact that he's tied up a little bit down the stretch, and that's where the drops came down the stretch. And Chris Boswell, who for me is the best kicker in the NFL with Justin Tucker. So yeah, you've got to retain those best pieces, and that deals that he's done have been spot on for me.
I know we're going really far here. I'm going really far with this question, but something intrigues me, and I want to enjoy the season, right? I really do. What's going to happen next year? Or what happens next year in the draft? Like, is Omar Kahn just going to go crazy and get some of the best players, or free agent wise? And where do we improve next year? If that's probably too far to think, but
there's obviously room to build there, because there's going to be obviously contracts coming to an end next year that they've got to look at. Obviously, the Terrell Edmonds deal that will come to an end. DeMonte Kazee on a 1-year contract. Ogunjobi's on a 1-year contract. Chase Claypool's contract comes to an end next year. So there's going to be some big decisions to be made around the players that we've already got. By the same token, then obviously going into the draft, what are the positions of need and that we need to look at? And obviously, I think, if the team pretty much stays as it is, you're going to be looking at, I know this is way too early to be making this prediction, but you're looking at probably an offensive tackle in the first 2 rounds. You're probably looking at an inside linebacker as well in the first few rounds if Bush doesn't work out this year. So there's going to be some big decisions to be made next offseason, but I'm very confident that we've got the right man in place to make those decisions that are right for the Steelers franchise.
All right, let's talk a bit about training camp, and then I have one more question for you. Unless you have any more, do you have anything you want to bring up today in this? I guess this meeting.
No, just that we're all, Mark. What's the biggest thing we're all excited about, mate? Next Saturday.
Oh, Seahawks versus Steelers. I want to see Kenny Pickett. I want to see. All right, let's transition a little bit, maybe for the last 10 minutes. Like, training camp, right? Yep. What's happening in the last few hours or last few? I saw no news today. I just woke up. What's going on in training camp?
So I was reading an article earlier by our good friend Noah Strackbean, Sports Illustrated All Steelers Talk. We both talked about him. There's been stuff we've done with him here on Syndicate and on my channel as well. And he was talking about the players that perform really well at camp. And what was encouraging was he spoke about Kenny Pickett, and he said that Kenny Pickett had the best week that he'd had in camp this week, that he's starting to grow in confidence. He's starting to settle into this NFL system, and he's starting to get over those rookie growing pains. And I think that is massively, massively encouraging that Pickett is starting to develop the way he is. That's phenomenal. And, again, it was Pickens has had a fantastic week. Well, when does he not have a fantastic week? Spillane apparently has been awesome this week as well. That's something else that I read that Strackbean wrote. I can't remember who the other person he said, but, there's been a lot of positives that have come out of camp this week. But for me, the biggest one is the fact that Pickett is now developing, settling in and coming through. And at the end of the day, what we need is Kenny Pickett to be in a position to be ready to start at some point this year or in 2023. And I think he's going in the right direction, and that's got to be encouraging for the franchise.
Well, I guess this is the week, though. Pretty much, this is getting prepared for Seattle, right?
Yeah.
So maybe the players are starting to play a bit harder, more think about it, because there are jobs on the line. After this game, there will be 5 cuts, and no, they won't be cutting Trey Norwood, right? But after this game, versus Seattle Seahawks, you'll probably see Spillane there a little bit. I think you'll see Bush in there. What are you looking forward to most? And we'll be probably trying to cover, we'll be throughout the week on the Pittsburgh Steelers Syndicate, we'll be doing videos about training camp, getting you guys hyped up about the game. But what are you looking forward to most, and maybe what positions or players to stand out, or who needs this game most as a Pittsburgh Steeler to do well?
I think we need to see that Calvin Austin and George Pickens translate what they've done in training camp into competitive game situations to step it up there, which I've got no doubt that Pickens will be able to do, because the guy is just unbelievable. I mean, I watched some more tape from camp today of him, and he's on a different planet. He just looks phenomenal. So that's one thing. And I think it's going to be really interesting as well to see how they use the quarterbacks, how long they play the quarterbacks for, and in what order they put them in, and how they do. Because, it could become a situation where, Mason has been the best in practice, but once you put him in a game situation, do we see the same Mason Rudolph we've seen previously, where the nerves come back, the ghosts come back, you can't punch it in the red zone? Trubisky, which Trubisky are we going to see? Are we going to see the Buffalo Bills type Trubisky, or are we going to see the Bears Trubisky? What are we going to see? And Pickett, what is he going to continue that development? And is he going to blow everyone away suddenly in preseason, where we're all going to be a week from now going, well, Pickett's got to start because he just looked awesome. So, quarterback is a position I'm really looking forward to seeing. I know that's kind of predictable, but it's just the way it's going to be until
it's predictable. It's predictable, but it's necessary when you think about it, because we have pretty much 3 new quarterbacks, and one quarterback being Mason Rudolph, who has a lot of hype going on right now. Can he continue the hype is one of my storylines, right?
Yeah. And
Trubisky, I want to see if he can go out there and get a first down, get a drive, and score points. Kenny Pickett, I think all these quarterbacks have something to play for, even Chris Oladukin. Right, so any of those guys. We have a question here, though. I want to hear your thoughts on Michael O'Malley's driving the show today. Anyone else here? Lamar Jackson put on 25 pounds of muscle. Will this affect his elusiveness? What do you reckon? Are you scared?
He has put on. No, I'm not scared. He has put on 25 pounds of muscle. I was listening to another show earlier before we came on here, and they were talking about the fact that Lamar's put on weight and it's all muscle. Will it affect his elusiveness? Possibly not, but at the end of the day, when has Lamar Jackson ever dominated the Steelers? And the Steelers own Lamar Jackson. That's we know the Steelers know how to deal with Lamar Jackson. And another thing, and I think this is something you've brought up, Mark, a number of times, is if you look at that Dolphins game against the Ravens last year.
Oh, love that game.
Flores had Jackson in his back pocket, didn't he, all game?
He figured him out within 4 minutes. From the first few plays, they started to blitz, use a safety. I think it's Javon Holland, I think his name is, or someone Holland, came down into the box. They blitzed 8 people. They disguised, who was coming. Sometimes the defensive line, one of them would drop back, and the safety would come in, and the 2 middle linebackers would go down there. It didn't matter what they did. Flores outsmarted Lamar 100%. And that game should be something we can, as Steeler fans, be almost proud of and say, well, Flores is going to use that terminology, that scheme to maybe confuse Lamar. Mm-hmm. Now, if I'm Flores, I go, I know how to beat Lamar, and I'm going to do it again. That's my confidence level. Mm-hmm. I know exactly what he's going to do, because you don't really change your tendencies too much, do you, when you think about it? Like, if you're a running quarterback, if you always flow out to the left, or if your first read is going to be a tight end and he's covered up, like, you don't change that too much. And we know that from the discussion you've talked about with Mason Rudolph, how there are a lot of fans who are on Mason Rudolph. At the same time, you see that his ceiling's capped, right? And you see that what he wants to play. So for Lamar Jackson, if he got bigger, sure, he might be able to maybe truck some people, but maybe he can't run as fast. But I think the Ravens will be better. But I think Flores in general has figured out. Well, he figured them out. And the Steelers with TJ Watt and Highsmith, they as long as they can track Lamar Jackson with like a spy, a Miles Jack kind of guy, and lock down the corners, it's close to game over in some of those things, because the Ravens need to run the football, right? They need to run the football to be successful, don't they?
100%, yeah. That they are a running team. That's what they're there for. And I think Ravens. I mean, make no mistake, the Ravens will be better this season because of the fact that they had 10 million injuries last year. No J.K. Dobbins, no Gus Edwards, Marlon Humphrey was out, Peters was out. They had so many injuries last season. And obviously, Dobbins is coming back, Edwards is back. They are going to be a better team this year. Let's get that straight. But the Steelers do have their number, and I think, as long as that run defense improves the Steelers, if you can stop the Ravens running the ball, you stop the Ravens offense, because Terrell Edmonds owns Mark Andrews. That's well known. He absolutely owns Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews is their real receiving threat. They traded away their top receiver, Hollywood Brown. They've got, is it Rashad Bateman? But that's one receiver. That's it. They've got nothing else. Their receiver core is depleted of any talent. So, in my opinion, you stop the Ravens running the ball, you stop the Ravens 100%.
Well, we don't. I think the Steelers don't play the Ravens to week 10, right? Or is it week 14 or so? Yeah, so we may not even see Lamar Jackson. I'll be honest. He might be injured again. I got a few questions here. If you guys got any more questions, we'll end the show with some questions. We got one here from this is quite a good point. So Dilbert, it says, if Rudolph can only get over his hesitation to go deep and become what he was in college, I believe he can be the starter. Do you believe that? If I know your thoughts on Rudolph, and I understand the stats behind and the red zone stats you talked about on Britsburgh the other day. But if he were to get better at throwing a deep ball and I guess bringing that into his gunslinger belt, would that work out for him, or is he just pretty much he will be number 2?
He's got to. I think if he wants to be number 1, he's got to bring that in, because at the moment he's been very much slated as in terms of the fact that he will run a very similar offense to Ben Roethlisberger in terms of, I mean a 2021 Ben Roethlisberger, not a 2005, 2008 Ben Roethlisberger. He very much goes straight to his first read. He's got extremely quick release. And the problem is when you release the ball really, really quick, you cannot get the depth of throw because it doesn't give the likes of Chase Claypool, George Pickens, Deontay Johnson time to get the separation they need and get deep to throw the ball deep. And that's the issue. So Mason has got to, I think, develop that side of his game in terms of his ability to hold on to the ball for a little bit longer. And he's also his ability to move in the pocket a little bit more. Mason is very much a pocket passer. He's a static guy. Yes, he can run but it's only to escape. If you look at a lot of when Mason runs with the ball, it is him running to get the yards. It's not him running to extend the play. And I think that's something he's got to bring. That's something he has to develop into his game.
Yeah, so he's not running for like a purpose. We've got a few more questions here, or a few more statements that are actually quite kind of funny and kind of cool. So Michael O'Malley says, deal with whoever wins quarterback one, I'm going to back. I agree 100%. Yep. Deal with it says here, Flores is going to be a game changer. I 100% agree. Also, we have Brian Brown. He says Mason Rudolph reminds me of high school jock bad guy and one of those. A bad guy? He's not a bad guy.
He looks like a Ken doll.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. What else we got? So we have 007 says Trubisky needs to win the first 3 games, Bengals, Patriots, and Browns. And Michael O'Malley says sweep the leg, Mason. Man, oh man. Any final thoughts or any we'll start to wrap it up here, guys. Any final thoughts, Owen? On we got a game. We got a game.
That's Mark, it's just my final thought is thinking ahead to next Saturday. I just cannot wait to actually see the black and gold out there on the field, formerly known as Heinz, playing against the Seahawks. I think that is the biggest thing for me. I just cannot wait to see Steelers football after the fact that the last game was back in January, and I just cannot wait, Mark. Really cannot wait.
Yeah, it's super crazy. So we will be going live as well. Another podcast on Thursday night. So our regular times will be on your American Sunday after the game, right? So we'll be going. The goal is to go after the game live every time. So this Thursday coming, we'll do like a preview. I guess we'll do a kind of a preview for the Seahawks and see what's happening. Try and figure that out. And then after the Seahawks game. Owen, you're still going to be awake, right?
Yeah.
All right. So
I'll stay. I've got work. Mark, you know what, Mark? This is how much I love my Pittsburgh Steelers, right? I have work at 6 o'clock in the morning on Sunday, but I will stay awake and I will do a show, even if it means I get like 1 hour sleep or 2 hours sleep.
So George says to me, Mark, you need to go to Wallaby Mart and get another mic. Yeah, I at the start of the show, I hexed another YouTuber for using a bad mic, and then my mic broke, so it didn't really work. But this makes me sound like I'm like a NASCAR driver, so that's kind of cool.
Makes you sound like you host one of those pirate radio stations from the 70s that you won't remember.
Yeah, look, you're young. It doesn't sound too bad. It's all right. I'll figure it out. Like this, I got to figure it out. I'm in the point now. Like this cost me like 160, and it's not working the way that I want it to. And I'm being stubborn, and I have to use it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I can't take it back now, so I'm just going to start using it. So, what was I going to say? I can't remember what I was going to say. Yeah. So we're going live after the Seahawks game, and I can't wait either. I can't wait just to see what can happen. So. Yeah, thanks everyone for checking out the Pittsburgh Steelers Syndicate. I will get my stuff in order. Over the next few days, I'm getting blinds, so it won't be as sunny. I'll have my mic fixed up. And from there, I think we have Steelers football versus Seahawks, and we're gonna figure out who's gonna be the quarterback, maybe, right? Trubisky, Kenny Pickett, Oladukin. I sound like Mark. What the? Okay, I'm out of here. You guys are, man. You guys are ripping me apart.
Absolutely killing me tonight. Makes a change when people having a go at me. It really does.
Oh man, you know what? I might just keep this microphone. I don't mind it. So I got to go back and review the tape. But that's all about getting better. And in that being said, I'm out of here because you guys are absolutely killing me. Thank you for checking out the. Hey,
Mark's going to be like Kyler Murray now. He's going to go and do his 4 hours game tape study.
Oh, and then whinge about it to the media. All right, guys, we'll see you later. Too long in the tooth here. Thank you for checking out Steel Syndicate Podcast. See you later.